Pokemon Horizons episode 64 just aired, and man, I genuinely cannot believe this episode. I really don't know how Pokemon Horizons keeps doing it, dude, but this really might be one of the best episodes in years for the anime. And I really mean it. The amount of crazy twists and turns as all the characters and storylines built up over the previous 60 episodes came into play, it just created such a gripping episode, you know? And a shockingly brutal, dark and twisted one too. Let's talk all about it right here, right now. The episode began with Liko thinking deeply about how she failed her test, while Roy and Dot passed theirs, and you can tell it's really weighing her down a lot. Roy and Dot are worried about her, and Roy tries to cheer her up by saying they should all climb to the peak of the mountain before they head back to the Naranha Academy, and Liko likes the idea. The loss is definitely still on her mind, that's easy to see, but she does want to cheer up for everyone's sake. However, little do they know that Spinel has been watching them for all this time and he's preparing to strike. And also Agate is here too. It's finally time for the explorers to make some moves. So Liko, Roy and Dot begin their journey up the mountain, but sneakily in the shadows, Agate gets her Medicham to use Psychic on a boulder, blocking Liko's path and separating her from Roy and Dot. Liko continues trekking further up the mountain completely oblivious, because she's distracted thinking about how she made Roy and Dot worry about her earlier. And also Amethio is flying overhead because he's trying to keep an eye on Spinel. If you guys remember from like 10 episodes ago, Amethio and Spinel really aren't aligned on how to achieve the explorers' goals, and they're kind of working against each other right now. Also, meanwhile, Roy and Dot realize that Liko got separated from them, and dude, I really love how all the chess pieces are moving in this episode. Everyone is separated but connected simultaneously. It's so cool, man. But then Liko and Amethio bump into each other on the mountain, and dude, we almost never get scenes with just these two together. I'm really hyped to see how it goes down. Both of them are confused about why they're both here, and then Amethio decides that he may as well take Terrapagos from Liko right here, right now. So now Amethio plans to take Terrapagos before Spinel can, and Liko and Florigato prepare to fight to protect Terrapagos. Liko thinks back to how Amethio destroyed her the last time they battled, but her and Florigato have come a long way since then and they're ready to put up a good battle this time. Ceruledge begins spamming Psycho Cuts, but Florigato dodges them all with Quick Attack. Then Ceruledge uses Shadow Claw, but Liko and Florigato use their strategy from the previous episode, with Florigato using her yo-yo on a tree and launching up into the air with acrobatics, dodging Ceruledge's attacks and then hitting it heavily. Florigato then immediately follows up with Magical Leaf, hitting Ceruledge even harder, hard enough for him to fall to one knee. Amethio acknowledges that Liko and Florigato are much better battlers than they were before, so he really locks in, and Ceruledge uses Bitter Blade with Florigato dodging it plenty, but now Ceruledge easily blocks Florigato's Magical Leaf. But then Amethio shocks everyone, as if he's a Pokeferlax video title, by suddenly out of nowhere terastallizing Ceruledge. Liko is really taken by surprise, dude, and then Terra Ceruledge with his power-up begins appearing and disappearing all over the battlefield repeatedly with Phantom Force, hitting Florigato heavily over and over and over. What I really love about this battle is that it's clear that Amethio and Ceruledge are still stronger and more skilled than Liko and Florigato. Like, don't get me wrong, Liko and Florigato are putting up an amazing fight. They're so much better than they used to be at battling, but the reason they dominated the first half of this battle is because they were unexpectedly so much stronger than their previous battle against Amethio. Amethio had no idea they'd be way better and way more skilled now, so that really took him by surprise, and because of that it took him a little while longer to lock in and to treat them as more serious battlers than before. That whole sequence really feels so realistic and well written, man. It makes a lot of sense for Amethio to underestimate them, but then when he realizes that she's way better now, he stops playing around and begins dominating again. But I am really proud of Liko for really reducing the gap between her and Amethio. Amethio's terastallized Ceruledge is still running laps around Florigato, and Amethio mentions how Florigato can't put up a fight against him, so Liko really wants to terastallize her Florigato to put up a better fight, but she knows that she's not allowed to. She failed her terrestrial training course, which means she's not allowed to terastallize anymore. Ceruledge is then about to finish Florigato off with one big final move, but then suddenly Spinel and Umbreon appear, interrupting them. Spinel then reveals his purpose for being here. He takes out the Rakurium, also known as the Eternal Blessing, that if you remember he stole from the lab back in episode 54, and then he covers his Umbreon with the pink mist of the Rakurium. Umbreon begins screaming out as the mist completely takes over his body, and then Umbreon's body begins morphing, Umbreon's fur begins standing up all spiky, his eyes turn more evil, his teeth become sharper, and man, like in general, Umbreon's entire body and face, well, it just kind of turns twisted and rageful and aggressive. It's genuinely insane, dude. Liko and Amethio are absolutely stunned in the horror, and then Terapagos begins screaming out in desperation and shock too, clearly incredibly upset and startled that Spinel has the Rakurium, and that he's using it in this way. Then Umbreon suddenly launches forward in a rampage, smashing into Ceruledge, sending it crashing into the rock, defeating it in one move, and wow dude, clearly we know what the Rakurium does now, and maybe why Gibeon and the Explorers want it so bad. Rakurium, the Eternal Blessing, it seems to make Pokemon go berserk. It makes them aggressive and angry and rageful and vicious, and it boosts the Pokemon's power to a new extreme. Like genuinely, Umbreon's power level was bonkers, man. This entire sequence was so dark and brutal. Like Umbreon is screaming out in such an unnatural and horrifying way. It doesn't even look like a normal Umbreon anymore. Pokemon Horizons really does love to take things to dark, brutal places, man. Spinel then begins basically taunting the emotional Terapagos with the Rakurium, and then at a sheer desperation, Terapagos suddenly transforms into its terrestrial form, and Terapagos uses all of its energy and its power to remove the power of the Rakurium from Umbreon's body, and then to destroy the Rakurium crystal in Spinel's hand too. Terapagos then collapses unconscious, and wow man, clearly this is confirmation that Terapagos has the power to destroy and counter Rakurium. That's actually crazy. Spinel tells Liko that that is all he was here for, and then he thanks her and Terapagos for their help before dashing away through the mountain. Dude, Spinel, as always, was absolutely amazing in this episode. Such a brilliant, cunning villain. I'm guessing he was only here because he wanted to test how Terapagos would react to and interact with the Rakurium. And now he knows that Terapagos has the power to destroy the Rakurium, and that really makes me question everything we know about Horizons. And hear me out everyone, I have a crazy theory that I just thought of. What if the entire reason that Lucius and Terapagos wanted to reach the Rakua Paradise is all because they wanted to go there together and destroy all of the Rakurium? Lucius might have known that the Rakurium can be used to enrage Pokemon and artificially power them up, so maybe he wanted to go there and destroy all the Rakurium using Terapagos for that purpose, so that evil people like Gibeon couldn't use the Rakurium for evil purposes and harm Pokemon with it, you know? That would explain Terapagos and Lucius wanting to go to Rakua. Their entire purpose could have been to destroy the Rakurium to protect it from Gibeon. That would be so cool, dude, and such a brilliant twist. I really hope I predicted it right, you know? So, Amethio and Liko are absolutely shocked by what happened, and then they both immediately begin chasing Spinel through the mountains. Spinel leads them both into a dark, snowy cave, and Amethio tells Liko to get out of here and go home. Dude, I love that Amethio is kind of in his own weird way looking out for Liko there. He doesn't want her to get involved, you know? But Liko refuses. Liko is not gonna let Spinel get away with whatever he did, you know? She wants answers. And dude, I absolutely love this. It's so great to see Liko taking an active role in the story now. To see her really doing her best to protect Terapagos and chasing down the Explorers like this is so much better than how she used to be. Back when she would always just be passive and hide behind everyone else. Liko taking an active role in the story is exactly what I wanted from her. But then Spinel uses his Behem to collapse the entrance of the cave before teleporting out, leaving Amethio and Liko stranded, trapped inside the cave. And hey, can I just say that I predicted Liko and Amethio would get trapped in a cave together and would have to get to know each other and work together to escape. I predicted that in a video a couple of weeks ago, man. That's pretty cool, you know? After all of this, Spinel meets up with Agate and tells her that the Rakurium was destroyed annoyed by Terrapagos' power, and that means his test was a success. He now knows that Terrapagos and Rakurium are contradictory to each other. He knows that Terrapagos and Rakurium are polar opposites. Terrapagos can destroy and counter Rakurium and its powers, and that's exactly what he wanted to know for his future plans. And now he has a Liko, Amethio, and Terrapagos all trapped inside a cave, so they're out of his way too. He even talks with Agate about Amethio being Gibeon's grandson, and that blood bonds like that can be difficult to deal with. You see, Spinel and Agate are saying that Amethio will inevitably get in the way of the explorers and their goals, so getting Amethio, Gibeon's grandson, out of the picture by trapping him in the cave, that's a big success to them and they're happy about it. And dude, this is some really dark stuff. Spinel trapped Amethio and Liko in a cave and left them there? Spinel is implying that he wants Amethio to never escape the cave, aka he wants Amethio to unalive in the cave. That's absolutely crazy! So dark and so brutal for Pokemon. Meanwhile, Roy and Dot call Freed and tell him that Liko's gone missing, and Freed says that he's on his way to help. And I think he also phone called Grusha too, so that Grusha can get there and help them also. But then, before anything else can happen, Sango and Onyx appear blocking Roy and Dot, and they're gonna battle them to stop them from intervening. Dude, I love that every Explorer's admin is here for the plan. So cool, man. Meanwhile, in the dark cave, Amethio and Liko are trying to break out with their Pokemon, but all their attempts fail, and Terrapagos then wakes up and begins screaming, clearly very angry and emotional and worked up about something. And that is where the episode ended. Okay, dude, where do I even begin with talking about this episode? Luckily, I spoke a ton throughout my review about all my theories and predictions, but there's still so much to say. First of all, I love that this episode was the big Explorers episode of the arc so far. Seeing every admin of the Explorers getting involved in the plan with different roles was so cool. I love that they all trusted Spinel's vision. He's a legend. Such a great villain. And now that he knows about the relationship between Terrapagos and Rakurium, he's only going to pose more and more of a problem. And then seeing Amethio somewhat working against the Explorers and against Spinel, and the Explorers wanting Amethio out of the picture, that was so crazy, dude. I loved the infighting between them. I'm really excited to see Gibeon's reaction when he finds out that Spinel tried to, you know, make his grandson disappear permanently. That's gonna be nutty, man. And speaking of which, the amount of dark and twisted and brutal moments in this episode were off the charts, bro. From the Rakurium causing Pokemon to become berserk and evil, with Umbreon looking like a demon, to Spinel being totally okay with subjecting his own Pokemon to that horror, and then to Spinel being totally okay with trapping Amethio in a cave forever, so that he can't get in the way of the Explorers in the future. Spinel is trying to unalive Amethio, bro, that's insane! This was one dark, brutal, twisted episode, and all of it is at the hands of the menace Spinel. Liko vs Amethio was great too, and I love how Liko's development as a trainer and a battle against Grusha played a big part in it, and now seeing how her and Amethio's bond will develop and change next week in the cave, that's one of the most exciting things I could ever hope for. I adored this episode from beginning to end. I love how it genuinely felt like all the story pieces and the character pieces are on a chessboard moving into place after so much setup, and I really can't wait to see what happens next. Let me know your thoughts on the episode below, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, join our Discord server using our link in the description, and on that note, thank you all so much for watching, and best wishes until we meet again!